It is September 29th, 2020. We're here on the rooftop of the house at 4277 Trias Street in San Diego, California, 92103. We're here above the two bathrooms. They are back to back with each other. We're going to go down this vent. This was replaced with all new plastic pipe here. Okay, here's our two T-junctions that pick up the two toilets. We're going to pause for 1 second. Okay, we're going to go down this rest of this vertical. This is now the beginning of the sewer already. We're going to make the transition to the horizontal line here. It appears that they use the sanitary T, and I'm going to pull our camera out here for just a second so we can wipe this off really fast. So when you're in a tight crawl space, there's not a lot of vertical room, but all vertical to horizontal transitions have to be used with a T fitting if they're not using a 90, called a combo T, a combination T, not a sanitary T. And so what they've used here was a sanitary T. It's completely going to be normally functional. It just makes it difficult for snaking and cameraing, so that's why it's not permitted. So it's not exactly to code, but it's never going to really be an issue. But it is going to make it a little bit difficult here to try to get our camera to go the right direction possibly. So we're going to push this through kind of fast and hard here. Camera's kind of binding up. I don't know if we're going in the right direction or not, actually. Okay, there's the clean out plug at the end of the line, or essentially the beginning of the line. Now we don't know if there's access there. Got a little bug in our way from the crawl space. We can rarely get cameras through there, so we're going to go ahead and try to get this to go the other path that we need to go. So normally, if a line backs up, you'll have the opportunity to try to clean it out from the roof vent rather than pulling the toilet if there's no other clean out access. And this is why you're not supposed to do these sanitary T's. Okay, looks like we're going in the right direction, but there we go. Having a little bit of hard time getting the camera to make those couple little quick turns. So we finally made that. So we got a little bit of debris on our camera. It'll rinse off here shortly. If not, we'll run some water. Now we can see that the line is all ABS plastic here. So it was all replaced. There we go. Got a little bit of water allowing our camera lens to clean up there. So it was all replaced in the crawl space. So basically we'll see if it was replaced all the way out to a certain point. Now you can see right here there's some standing water in the line. So obviously we'll see if there just happens to be some debris farther ahead holding it up, or if the pipe itself just has improper slope. Obviously there's not supposed to be any standing water in the line. That could lead to a small chance of possible odors coming up through the trapways when they open up. Otherwise, it could possibly lead to stoppages because things aren't draining out properly. So the heavy material that gets left behind in what we call a sag or a belly, an area holding water, can dam and build up and lead to a stoppage. Now with smooth plastic pipe, it's a little less likely as long as it's not a very deep or long sag or belly. So we'll see what we encounter here as we continue down this pipe here. Could also be just the way they laid the pipe in there. The pipe has a natural curve to it sometimes when we're actually purchasing it and bringing it to the job site, and you have to verify that before you lay it down in the line. So you can see we're kind of coming out of that just slightly, and as we back up it'll look a little less because we create that wave of water in the front of the camera as we're pushing forward. So we did not see any debris there. Now the house is vacant right now, but it's pretty minimal, and because we're in a tight crawl space, it's unlikely it could probably be completely corrected. because here we go, we have a T-junction right here. This is probably picking up the kitchen line right here. So we could see on the side of the house we have a 2-inch pipe with an internal clean out on the inside of it, and we can actually see the little bit of probably fat, grease, and food debris coming off down and hanging on the pipe right there. So certainly that's probably the kitchen drain line right there. We'll continue down the main sewer here. Okay, here's where the plastic ends. So this is probably getting close to the foundation wall, or in an area where it just wasn't too much more diggable in the crawl space itself. So you can see we're now transitioning over to the cast iron. So you can see there's a little lip on the bottom of the pipe right there. The alignment wasn't done perfect. So that's why there's some standing water here, is because we actually have a little edge to the pipe where it was misaligned. It wasn't done perfectly. So you can see right there, we actually come up to the steel pipe. We're actually hitting it with our camera lens, and on the side of the screen you can kind of see the wall thickness of the cast iron itself. So the ABS is just slightly low compared to what it should have been. Not a huge deal, just slightly misaligned there. So we'll push our camera up and over that. We're now in the original cast iron. I believe we are headed towards the street. It's unlikely we're going into the backyard through an easement. We did not see any cleanouts or property line cleanouts at the front of the property, but if we pass anything, we'll verify that by locating it. So this cast iron looks in very good condition still. It's nice and open, very, very minimal deposits or scale and buildup on the bottom of the pipe there. We're not seeing any roots intruding, of course, and nothing else seriously broken or cracked in the line anywhere at all. So you can see there's just a little bit of debris on the bottom. That's to be expected of cast iron of this age, but it's not too severe at all. Little mounding here and there. Getting a little bit heavier throughout right here. That's a little bit of pocketed area. And right here we've got some really nice downhill slope on the pipe. Our camera has the tiltometer in it, so it tells us the incline that it's at. Again, not finding any issues with the cast iron here. Okay, so we've got roots intruding right here in the line, so you can see that little web of roots right there. So this unfortunately is a sign, of course, that the cast iron is failing. It's basically cracking. It's an extremely old home, and so the cast iron is now letting the roots get in from the little fissure lines and cracks that have finally developed in the pipe, because the life of the cast iron can be anywhere from 50 to 100 years basically, and so you can see right here the roots are quite intrusive, and the pipe is basically needing repair here quite heavily. So got all these roots intruding in the system right here. We may be transitioning to a clay concrete pipe already as well. We may be out of the cast iron by now. Okay, and there you go. So now we are in greenbelt PVC pipe. You can see all the roots still right there until we get to there. So this is definitely going to be the clay concrete pipe. We're going to be probably getting close to the sidewalk area where we're at right here. So the city apparently replaced this. We did not see a property line clean out. We'll see if we pass a white fitting here coming up. That would be a T-junction possibly that they put in, and then they would bring that to surface. We saw a bunch of other utilities on the front curb, but we did not see a sewer clean out lid, so maybe they didn't put one in. Here's our turn on the line, and here's our dump into the city itself. So about 108 feet out from the top of the vent right here. So it does appear that the city contracting company that put the new pipe in, of course, did not put in a property line clean out. Now, it would have only allowed you to clean out this plastic green pipe that was newly replaced, so it wouldn't help with the roots and the other pipe previous to that. So it wouldn't have helped in this case, but we wanted to double check that. So now we're going to go ahead and pull back on the line here. We're going to go ahead and go to the very end of the clay concrete pipe, which is essentially the beginning of this Greenbelt PVC plastic pipe. So that's right here. The roots are all throughout this entire section that needs to be replaced or repaired with a liner. So we're going to go ahead and pause and go down and locate to see where this is at on the property. Okay, so we do have a home inspector here, and they're going to start running water, but we cleared that with them, so it's going to get in front of the camera lens just slightly, but we've already seen the majority of the lines, so now we're just going to do our locating explanation here for the video. So we've located this Greenbelt PVC pipe the city contractor put in, and right here where it begins is right at the curb. Normally they'll come all the way back to the property line, but they didn't do that in this case, so that's why we don't see a property line clean out, because they actually only dug up the street and they did not come past the curb onto the frontage and into the sidewalk area. So there was actually some concrete redo, and it looks like they might have started that process possibly and then changed their mind, I guess. So anyway, that's why we don't see that white T-fitting with a clean out that would have been for this pipe headed outward bound anyway. So the pipe right here is 30 inches deep. It's right at the curb. We've got it marked with some chalk denoting where this change in pipe material is at, from clay concrete to this plastic. So we're going to now pull back on the line here. So we're all solid roots, and there is a tree right above this area. So that's definitely why this pipe, besides the age of it though and the material, has got the roots in it so bad. So you can see right here where we started at about 93.5 feet, and we still have solid roots right here. And so right there was about the beginning. So it's about a 6-foot section or so. Now the problem is that the roots that start right here on the top of the screen, as you can see, and then get worse as we go forward, this is the cast iron pipe. And so the pipe previous to this, as we come backward, if you were to try to dig this up and cut this, the problem is that the cast iron is so old, it may not survive the actual cutting process, and then the process of having to put a band around the outside edges to create a proper watertight seal to then replace this, let's just say with plastic or whatever. So you may have to go ahead and dig this up in the front yard and do what's called a liner, where they only cut into part of the pipe, or pull it out, and then from both areas of the pipe going back into the house and then away from that area, we shoot a liner in there so that you're not actually having to dig up or replace the actual pipe, which means less landscaping has to be removed, and then you're coating the inside so that you've got all pipe, and then where it was dug up, clean outs would be put in there. Now this area anyways, we come back, of course, is under city property, so this is under the frontage area and the sidewalk, which you can't dig up anyway without a special permit. It gets very expensive. So we're going to go ahead and push forward right here to about the beginning where we can see all those roots right there in the top of the screen. So we know that the pipe is all bad from here forward for sure, and it's going to have to be replaced or relined. So we're going to pause one more time and see exactly where we're at on the property right here. Okay, so this is under the city sidewalk, and we've got this marked, and we'll come down to ground level to show this. So the pipe is about 22 inches deep right here, and this is not a diggable area because it's city property. So we're now going to go ahead and back up on this cast iron line here, and we're going to pull back to where the cast iron begins, essentially, where they stop putting the plastic in. Okay, actually what we're going to do right here is we're actually going to pause for 1 second. We actually need to go ahead and locate this in the middle of the front yard, because this would be the area we need to dig up, or any plumbing company would need to dig up to put the clean outs in, which also would allow for the lining process to repair and fix this pipe. So we're going to see if we're in the middle of the front yard right here under the synthetic grass. Okay, so right here where we're at with the pipe was actually a perfect spot. We're actually right at the beginning of the synthetic grass. There's a flower bed, and then there's a little brick separator, and then there's the beginning of the synthetic grass, and we're actually right underneath that little brick separator between the two different materials. And so the pipe is about 17 inches deep right here in the front yard, so not super deep at all. It is in the direct pathway of the water line, so the water meter runs right from there and right up the bed. As we follow it up, there's where the regulator and the water pipes all come up. So when this sewer pipe is dug up, you're going to have to be definitely careful. The water lines are going to be in the ground and may be in the way, may need to be cut or moved for the digging process, depending on how really close they are to each other. The gas line is on the left side of the house coming in, so it would also be beneficial to call Dig Alert, and required actually, just in case the gas pipe takes a little bit of a weird path and is close to one of those areas as well. So we're now going to go ahead and continue to pull back on the line. So right now we're almost about 20 feet back from where we started. There's a long wooden deck before we get to the foundation, the front door. So we've now gone over 10 feet from where we were at. We probably have quite a few more feet here. We'll see. So we're coming up on the 40-foot mark length of that cast iron pipe. So we're already past that. So it's a fair amount of cast iron that'll have to be relined here to clean this up. Now, this cast iron here is right now is intact and it is functional and doesn't have any issues. The problem is it's just as old as the rest of it. So it would probably be smart to get it lined at this time and have it done, but you could not do it. You could hold off and wait. Now here's where we transition finally. So again, this is also where there's that one little lip on the pipe. So go ahead and jump right over that. Right here's the edge of the... So we basically have about a 45, 46 foot run approximately of cast iron, which eventually does turn into clay concrete where all those roots are. So we're going to go ahead and pause right now and locate to see how far into the crawl space this pipe is. Okay, so we've gone ahead and located the cast iron here, which is the beginning of the cast iron, the end of the plastic they replaced under the house. The crawl space is extremely tight. Where we're at here is actually 15 feet inside the house. So from coming through the front door, that's how far this cast iron runs still under the house. So essentially it's almost directly across from the kitchen sink area. There's a large center table, cabinet countertop area for the kitchen, and right at the end of that, as you're leaving the house, that's where this pipe is essentially starting, this cast iron. And so it's not really accessible from the crawl space. There's a small panel outside underneath the kitchen window, and it is just very tight, and there's tons of piping and ducting everywhere. So it's probably why they didn't replace the rest of this. It gets very difficult of a workspace. It's not like it's very easy to get in here and replace the rest of this, but that's why it's so far into the crawl space. So we're now going to go ahead and pause and move our camera down to ground level to show the markings on the front of the house. Okay, so we moved down to ground level right here, and so we're at the front of the house. So you can see right here. And so basically past the front doors right there, again, the sewer pipe past those double doors there to enter the house. This cast iron is 15 feet past those doors that it still runs. So from those doors over across the wood kind of deck and then across this planter bed is about 27 feet. Now the pipe right here is where it's passing. It's 17 inches deep right here. And then again, we have the synthetic grass, and then the line runs for almost about another 20 feet. And you can see there's a chalk line on that sidewalk. And so right there where the sidewalk's actually a different color, it was dug up and replaced. We actually think that the city contractors were going to replace the line up to the property line, and then they changed their mind, or the city did for some reason. So it's only replaced up to the curb itself, just the line in the street. None of the frontage or the sidewalk area was replaced. So that's still the original clay concrete, and then all cast iron across. So again, this bed right here is where we'd probably recommend digging first, so you don't have to dig up the DG and the other material and peel back the synthetic grass. Again, the water line is right here, and regulator past those little bushes in the middle top of the screen right there, so you have to be careful with that. The gas line is on the left side of the house coming in, so still recommend calling Dig Alert. But anyway, right here is where the line would be dug up. All these plants would need to be pulled up. Cast iron would be cut, and then from here outward the line would be cleaned up, remove all the roots, and then reline the pipe up to the plastic transition to avoid having to maintain and actually correct the problem without digging it up. Now if the cast iron pipe though here when it's dug up is cracking, breaking, flaking, and during even the cutting process crumbles and doesn't allow to be connected into where the new clean outs would be installed right here, then from here back that 25 feet essentially or so of pipe would also then have to be relined to avoid the digging process, because you only have a few more feet before you get to where it's really in the non-diggable area. So we're going to pause and just move over down here to the sidewalk area. Okay, so right here again you can see they replaced these 3 squares. The neighbors was done the same way, we noticed, but the line is still cast iron under the sidewalk here. So right here where you see the circle and the X, 22 inches deep roots, that's where the roots start in the cast iron pipe. Then we've got this big tree here, of course, and then right there on the sidewalk where it says CL, the circle and the X, that's the transition from the clay concrete, and then underneath it says PL, that's the plastic greenbelt PVC pipe, and the pipe is 30 inches deep there. So right at the curb right there is where the city stopped putting in the plastic, so everything from there back all this way has roots, is clay concrete, and then here is cast iron. So all this is the big problem area, and then again back up to the front of the house there, the cast iron is okay without any roots, but we don't know if it's going to survive the cutting process, and part of this on each side of the T that has to be dug up to clean these roots out, install the clean outs, and at least reline this front section. So that concludes the recording for this property.